What's up? I'm Christian from ILL NIño, and you are watching Geströmt.
Ja, hi, liebe Freunde von Geströmt.de, wir sind mal wieder hier für euch unterwegs. Der junge, gut aussehende Mann hier neben mir hat sich eben gerade schon vorgestellt, das ist Christian von ILL NIño. Und wir sind heute hier, um den Jungs ein paar Fragen zu stellen und zu schauen, wie das Leben auf Tour für die Jungs so läuft. Aber ich denke mal, das wird er uns gleich selber sagen. So, Christian, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, how's the current tour going so far for you guys?
Tour's going good. Did a bunch of shows in Germany. We got a couple more left, and looking forward to a day off in Berlin. I think we have a day off in Berlin after tomorrow, so I'm looking forward to that.
Super. You played in Germany really often, yeah? In the past. So how important is the German, or you can say the whole European market for ILL NIño?
Well, I mean, the German market pretty much, deciphers what goes on in Europe. Germany's definitely a big metal country, so they like their metal here, and it's important for us to come back and to perform for the fans. I mean, we have a really good, loyal fan base in Germany, and we're very grateful, and we feel blessed, to have such a great fan base here. So it's important for us to come back.
That's great. Are there any differences if you play shows in America or in Europe? Maybe the audience, the crowd, is there any difference?
Well, it depends. Some places in the U.S. we play to very good crowds, large crowds, and some places in the middle of the U.S. not such big crowds. But it's the same over here. When we play the big cities, we do really well. And in some of the smaller places, it might be only a couple of 100, 200, 300 people, but it still makes the show worthwhile. You have to go out and reach the smaller towns and the fans that don't necessarily get to travel all the time to the bigger shows.
Cool. Can you give us some insight into your recording process to Dead New World? Was it different to the last ones? Maybe you changed your voice a little bit, or it's a little bit more aggressive.
Well, I went back a little bit, to where I started with my voice.
Yeah.
I didn't change to do something I've never done before. I just went back to perhaps maybe the first record where I was screaming a little bit different. The process was very different on this record. We self-produced the record, except for 2 songs which we had co-producer Greg Lowry and Sahaj work with us. And and it was a very different process. We wrote together as a band. Aru and Diego stayed at my house for a couple months, and I pretty much wrote with them. I wrote with Aru as much as possible. There was never really a producer there to, if him and I disagreed on something, or if, Dave and him disagreed on something, or if, Dave and I disagreed on something, there wasn't a producer to pick which one was right there. The producer would usually come in and say, oh, well, I think we should do it like the way he's saying because of this and this. But we had to work everything out amongst each other.
Where do you get your ideas for the lyrics? You say it's personal, or?
Well, it's funny because the concept of the record wasn't something that I said, I'm going to write it about me. But at the end of the day, it wound up being something that I kind of did live through in my life. Some people may notice it, some people may not, but the theme of the record is very simple. It's the story of an immigrant who travels from his homeland and leaves his family behind, and leaves everything that he's ever known behind to travel to another land to try to live out a dream, or to try to become a better person, or learn better things, and perhaps feel more civilized. But in turn, he winds up suffering a lot of the same stereotypes, and racist racist stereotypes that you would suffer, you know, being a stranger in a strange land. So in many ways, you know, it really is just a story of an immigrant trying to find a better place to live, trying to find a better place to die, actually, you know, because at the end of the day, that's really, you know, anybody who is an adult that moves from their homeland to another place, you know, you've lived most of your life, you're probably just looking for a better place to die, you know. And you know, all the and the character went through a lot of emotions as far as, you know, losing faith and, you know, realizing that he, even though he is like everybody else, he's not seen the same. You know, a lot of doubt. And towards the end of the record, you know, it kind of takes a turn, and it's very angry, and it's very, I guess at that point, the character is just extremely pissed and realizes that he's left behind his whole life to live a new life in a world where he would never be looked at the same as the other guy.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much the concept behind the whole record. And, you know, it's something that I kind of thought up of one day at home. You know, I was just kind of like blurting out in the air different things, and I remember my fiance going, "Oh, that's some really, you know, those are really good ideas you have." And I was like, "Really? That's interesting." And I kept kind of developing it and thinking about it.
Yeah.
And when I went to write the lyrics, I kind of just in my head made like a movie, you know, and each song is a different scene.
Yeah.
And each song kind of explains the different emotions that the character goes through. So it was a lot of fun to do, really fun. And in the end, I realized that there's a lot of the shit I went through when I first came here, you know, when I first moved to the U.S. So
yeah. So you changed the record company?
We changed record companies again.
Yeah, you went to Victory now. So what gave it to you? So the change from the last what I read is Cement Shoes.
Yeah. Well, we were very unhappy with Cement Shoes. A lot of the guys in the band felt that it was a really bad decision that we had made to sign with that record label. I guess at the time, to a couple of people, it felt right. Yeah. But in the end, we realized it was a really dumb decision, and we were very unhappy. We were lucky in the sense that we were able to leave the record label with our record. They didn't keep the Enigma record, so we were able to take it with us. And the record deal through Victory Records is actually ironic the way things happened, but we had gone out on a tour, and Victory Records had requested one of their bands to be on the tour in the U.S., and they're called Sister Sin. I'm sure maybe you've heard of them.
Yeah.
And
sure, yeah.
And Sister Sin was on the tour, and you know, Dave developed a good relationship with Tony Brummel, and we also had a friend who was doing a lot of publicity for Victory Records at the time. His name is not to have to be said. He's no longer at the label, but you know, he was a very good friend of ours, and he helped us, you know, get the record deal with Victory Records, and it was really just a family atmosphere. You know, we took out one of their bands, we made friends with them at the label. Dave told Tony that we were looking for a new home, and Tony seemed interested, and they kept talking about it until we signed the deal.
If you could change something in the music industry, what would it be? You have an idea?
Well, let's just put it this way. When the MP3 revolution came out, and this was about 6, 7, maybe 10 years ago, all the labels, you know, went and tried to find an attorney and, you know, took the defense. If I could change one thing about the music industry, I would have had whatever label I would have been on back in the day buy Napster instead of trying to sue them. That's what I would change, because they made a big mistake. The labels made a big mistake in trying to battle something that was as simple as a fan just wanting to hear as much music as possible. And instead of the labels trying to battle it and starting this war with fans, you know, where the fans are like, fuck the labels, They should have just bought it. They should have just bought it and did something cool with it, you know, offer some free music as long as you buy a record every month, something. I mean, anything other than the situation that we're in where, you know, labels are, you know, crying, I don't know what to do, and the fans are like, fuck you know, so it's a really harsh situation, and that's the one thing I would change about the music industry today. I would have consulted my record label to start purchasing places like Napster, you know, places like mp3.com, you know. I would have consulted them to buy them, and I think we'd be in a better place today.
One of the most given answers as I tell this question was from other bands, were that all the American clubs where you can play, they all want your merch money.
I know, for example, in some of the clubs they want 20% of your merchandise. Yep. Now if you're smart and you have a smart business person, you can work out a better percentage, you know, but you have to find a way to do that.
But you bring the people to the club.
Right.
So that it is. So that's because it's your money. So in Germany we don't have this. So that was
even in the
answer.
US.
So yeah.
Even in the US though, there's better percentages to be found, and you know the club finds different reasons or justifications as to why they deserve to have a percentage of your merch. But I mean, we just did a Soundwave festival in Australia, and you know, with Slayer and Iron Maiden, Bullet for My Valentine, 30 Seconds to Mars, Dimmu Borgir. I mean, it was endless the amount of bands that were on that bill, and we were selling about 200 shirts a day, which is a lot. You know, for a festival, that's a lot of T-shirts, and you know, they took 20% every day. There's nothing you could do.
So, and last but not least, what can we expect from the show tonight?
Just a good metal show, man.
Yeah.
You know, we're not the kind of band to take it easy, so it's going to be good. It's going to be loud. We have a really good sound guy, so it's going to sound really good. If all the gear works properly, knock on wood, it will sound really good. And a couple of people might get drunk on stage. I might be one of them.
That's great. Das ist ein geiler Typ. Das ist so ein geiler Typ.
Das ist ein total geiler Typ.
Christian, thanks for having us.
Thank you, man. Very cool.
It's nice to meet you.
Very cool meeting you.
You are one of my youth heroes.
Oh, thank you, man. That's too much of a responsibility.
Mine too.
These words are just a fact in what you call my life's track. Mistakes, false sake, and everyone will.
Ja, so, wir Kinder der 90er hier haben heute den jungen Mann hier getroffen. Danke, dass wir hier sein durften für euch. Das war Christian von ILL NIÑO und wir werden jetzt noch reingehen, wir alle zusammen. Trotzdem, mein lieber Freund Timo. Und wir werden noch mal gucken, was der junge Mann hier heute live on Stage bringt. Aber ich denke, das wird schon richtig geil. Also vom Prinzip her bis zum nächsten Mal und rock on.
Rock and roll.